This is the bonus content video. It's optional. You don't have to watch this if you don't want to. But in this video, we're going to be talking about canons and learning about what canons are, since your assignment this week is to compose a 5-measure canon. So first, we're going to talk about what canons are not. So for the purposes of music, canons are not weapons that appear on the Texas state flag in 1835. Also, probably the most famous canon is not actually a canon at all. Pachelbel's canon in D is not a canon. It has a reoccurring bass line, making it a passacaglia, not a canon. And it was also not written by Pachelbel.
It's a fake!
However, it was written in the key of D, so at least they got one thing right. This is a retrograde canon. It's pretty cool because you can play it forwards and backwards at the same time. So if you look at the first note in the top part, it's an A. If you look at the last note in the bottom part, it's an A. Second note in the top part is a B, and the second to last note in the bottom part is a B. So it's the same forwards and backwards, and it makes a nice little progression. Unfortunately, this is also not a canon, although it is cool. This is a canon diversi. Sorry, it's a little blurry, but this is kind of a cool thing because if you look at the very last clef and key signature and time signature, it's upside down. And what you're supposed to do with this is just lay it flat on a table, and you sit across from your partner that you're going to play with, and you both read the music as written, and one person plays it facing them, and you play it facing you, and it creates a nice little melody and harmony. But unfortunately, this is also not a canon. Three Blind Mice with the Old English spelling. There's also other rounds like Row, Row, Row Your Boat and whatever, other things like that. Rounds are not canons. They are multi-voiced. They are sung and not played. Canons are instrumental, and rounds are vocal, and they are short and repeated, whereas canons are long and not as repeated. So what are canons? Canons come from the Renaissance era, and they were one of the first compositional devices. So here we have a canon using Renaissance notation, which uses a lot of things like neumes, and we have brevs and quavers and semiquavers and all this other kind of stuff. So this is all you get when you see a canon. So it's up to the performer to figure out what to do with it, and it's kind of a puzzle. So you got to figure out where the canon inversion is, and you got to figure out what the distance of the canon is. Is it 2 beats? Is it 4 beats? Is it inverted at the octave? Is it inverted at the fifth? Is it another type of inversion? So the performers have to figure out what to do with it when they get it, and this is all you get. So you got the advantage of having a canon is you have a short-looking piece of music, and it's actually pretty long because when you take the parts and extrapolate them, you end up with a full piece of music. Bach was the master of the imitation form. He wrote the book The Art of Fugue, and he wrote a lot of canons. This is a canon that he wrote, and if you look at the clefs, he has 3 clefs that he uses. They're all C clefs. So he has a tenor clef, an alto clef, and then he has another type of clef. I think that's like the soprano clef or something? I don't know what it is, but it shows you that this canon is a 3-voice canon, and that it's in it's a 4-voice canon, and you separate it all out at the third. So once you start separating them out at the third, you have to figure out, okay, well, how many beats apart are they from one another? And so you got to lay them on top of each other and figure out what makes sense. And so this is going to be laid out 6 beats apart from one another. Sorry, this is also kind of hard to read because I blew it up, but this is another Bach canon, and it's from the Musical Offering. And the top part is actually a melody all by itself, and the bottom part is where the canon actually is. And you'll notice there's like an upside down treble clef and an upside down key signature. So you might think, well, is this supposed to be played backwards too? Actually, no. And I'm going to extrapolate this and show you what it looks like. So this is what the canon would look like if you broke it down into modern notation. So you can see where the parts come out. Now, my notation is in treble clef, so if you see the middle line, you'll see 3 lines there. The middle line is actually where the melody is, which is the top line on the example, and then the other 2 lines are where the canon is on the top line, the bottom line. So we have a melody that's sandwiched in between a canon that's a harmony. So this is actually really cool. And in the Musical Offering, Bach has a lot of different canons, including something called a sequence canon, which basically you take a canon and you can modulate into different keys. Some people call it a spiral canon, and Bach really, I mean, he was a really smart dude, and he could figure out all these imitative forms, and even, you know, it was even said that he could like improvise fugues and canons, you know, just come up with them on the fly. That's how good he was at taking a melody and figuring out what the possibilities were for that melody or harmony. So basically, for a canon, anybody can write a canon in 2 voices, 3 voices, 4 voices, however many voices. All you need to do is create a melody that can then harmonize itself at a certain interval, at a given point in time. So for your assignment for next week, the type of canon that you're going to be doing is a 2-part canon, and the interval of separation is going to be at the octave, which is the easiest to do. And it's going to be 4 beats apart, which is also fairly easy to do. On your own, you can try to experiment with different canons. Maybe try one 2 beats apart. That's a little trickier. Maybe try it at the 5th instead of at the octave. That is also a little trickier. So the possibilities of this are really cool. Imitative forms are really cool. It makes your music more interesting when you write. Up until this point, we've been doing a lot of compositional exercises, and this is kind of another exercise too, but we're getting close to actually composing. You know, before, we're just learning how to treat dissonance, and basically it's like we're working these muscles in our brain that are leading to different types of part writing and stuff, trying to expand that understanding so that if you wanted to compose something more serious, you have experience on how to treat dissonance and sort of having to solve some of these puzzles and riddles that we have in trying to create counterpoint in a design structured way. So I hope you enjoy this content, and I hope you enjoy this week's assignment. It's pretty cool. And next week we're going to learn more about phrasing, structure, and form. We've been learning a lot about the objective part of music with the treatment of dissonance, and next week we're going to learn some subjectivity, you know, how to create cadences and how to create structure and phrasing and, you know, basically the expressive side of music. So we'll see you then. Good luck with this week's assignment.